We're live here. And Whit, we want to start out by just talking briefly about what you're doing at Bad Unicorn, because there are going to be a lot of people out there that say, hold on, you can make a business online out of basically making jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
how does it work? Explain to people what you're actually doing, because you launch something pretty often, but to an older generation, it may not make a ton of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For about 5 months now, I launched something and I've been running something called Bad Unicorn. It's badunicorn.vc if you want to check out the landing page. But the whole premise is, I guess, like the short line is like SNL for startups. Where like we're trying to like parody startups, make funny startups, launch funny side projects, and the way we're able to do that is through no code. So both me and my co-founder Ash, we're both semi-competent in no code and building projects. And yeah, so it's just on the side for both of us. We're coming up with wacky ideas, and then the only constraint that we've set for ourselves is every other Friday we launch a funny or bad business idea. And yeah, the goal is for like those products to go viral and like up our newsletter subscribers.
So do you actually ever make any money off this stuff?
Sometimes, yeah, it's peanuts to most people. And so some of the projects make money. Some of the projects are just meant to be shared around. And so we've got like some ideas that are like engagement generating ideas, and then some that are revenue generating ideas. And right now we're striking the balance of like, how many do we launch, like where we like ask for money? Like how many do we launch that are just share this around? And I think later we'll figure out like what that balance is. And yeah, and if we can make like substantial money on bad ideas.
That's awesome. So you're hearing it here first. If you're trying to build an audience, there literally are no bad ideas, because you're taking bad ideas and making them into something that eventually can turn into subscribers and build your audience. So whatever, anyone listening to this that's, I don't know if people care about my idea and I don't know if it's going to work, it probably will. You could probably find a subset of people that are interested in what you're doing. So let's talk about your audience. Who are you targeting?
So we've said like it's like innovators or creators who also have a sense of humor. So I think a lot of our stuff, some people probably land on our sites, this is dumb, this is stupid, they don't get it, and they leave. We're targeting person almost like I always try to think of like adjacent audiences, but almost like the Morning Brew audience, where it's like people that like the news, but they also want it like a little like cheekier than like the Wall Street Journal or Bloomberg. And so I think it's the same type of people, where it's like people in tech who have a sense of humor.
And you've launched a bunch of stuff so far. So like Musk on Mars, Slow, Unslack, Meme University, bunch of really funny things. Go check it out at Bad Unicorn VC, by the way, if you don't already know Whit's building with Ash. But it's funny stuff. I'm curious which one has actually been the biggest driver of new subscribers or even money for you.
Yeah, so we've done. It's so tough to tell because it varies. Like in the first launch, we had 0 subscribers when we launched Musk on Mars. Let's say like Unslack, for instance, is the one that has the most page views, and which is like 15,000 page views. And so it's tough to say because like we have this audience that helps share it around a little bit more. And but there's ideas that like, and then there's also ideas where it's you just can't even tell. We've had ideas where they're like duds and it didn't resonate with people, or people didn't care about it that much, or it was Christmas time and people were busy doing other stuff, or it was election time. And so it's a little bit of finding the right idea and the right timing. So some of that could be luck as well.
So you mentioned you launch every other Friday. You try to launch something, right?
Yeah.
What's the actual time commitment that you put into it between those 2 weeks? How many hours do you think you spend on building one of these bad projects?
Oh, it varies, because sometimes I'll take over some of the building of the website or the product. Sometimes Ash will. So we kind of balance each other as far as project to project. I would say we probably spend, and again, this is like a side project. So it's like we have full-time gigs, and then this is what we're doing on the sides. I'd probably say we spend, I don't know, 6 to 10 hours like per project, maybe a person. And I don't know where I'm like gauging that, because it's the type of thing where it's Bad Unicorn just like always on my mind. So yeah, there's no running clock, but somewhere in there.
All right, I think we got a good idea on what you've been building with Bad Unicorn and what that all looks like. But I want to shift a little bit to, so right now on Twitter, you've got about 2,500 followers. For anyone listening to this podcast, not just highlighting people with hundreds of thousands of followers, at any stage, you're going to see growth and stalling and all kinds of different things. Like it's going to happen across a bunch of different stages. So where you're at right now with 2,500, how long did it take you to get to that point? When did you start taking Twitter seriously?
Yeah, so I guess the first thing that kind of was prior to Bad Unicorn was something I called Random Pizza, and I built an app that sends you pizza at a random time each month, and it's a subscription service. That's where I figured out, like, this was my niche, like funny products. Like, some people think it's silly. I think they're funny and somewhat useful. And so, like, for a long time, I just lurked on Twitter and probably was around like 400, 500 Twitter followers. Didn't tweet really anything that was like that valuable other than like launches or like self-promotion. Then once Bad Unicorn started, it just resonated with people, and I found my voice. So for a while, I was kind of tweeting into, kind of before I found my voice, I was tweeting into what felt like somewhat like nothingness. And then just the more I tweeted, the more I found the things I liked to tweet about and the things that people liked me tweeting about. And so, yeah, and then now it's just like a battle of like consistency, like trying to show up every day, having no 0 days, and then tweeting about, like I was saying, just a couple categories, not, I don't know, the NFL. Like, I love NFL, but I try to keep it pretty focused.
Yeah, I keep all the things I actually am interested in. I just try to comment on stuff elsewhere, and I'll keep it all there. I tweet about stuff.
Same here. Yeah, same here. My like friends that aren't in tech look at my Twitter and they're like, give me shit and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Nobody understands at all what I do either. So yeah, most people on this podcast are in that category.
Yeah.
So, at 2,500 followers, how many is Bad Unicorn at right now? Because there's a separate Twitter account there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's been like an interesting growth, because that has 1,200 maybe, and that's from like 5 months ago, and I guess my 2,500 has been like from way longer than like the life of Bad Unicorn, but it did pick up substantially when I started like talking more, tweeting more, shipping more products.
How have you balanced having your personal account, and then I'm assuming that you're probably, are you the one writing the tweets for the Bad Unicorn account usually, or do you split it?
So it's Ash. Ash he's the wizard behind the Bad Unicorn account, and it's just always a funnel for both of us where we're like, whenever we're talking, we're tagging. Bad Unicorn does tweet some, but we don't put a ton of effort into the Bad Unicorn account. Then again, this isn't me doing it. Maybe Ash is, but he's consistent as far as like posting our content, updating things. We have a lot of like nuances with Bad Unicorn. They're like Easter eggs that we just like doing, even if like no one notices it. For instance, like each drop we target like a tech personality, so Slack or Fast.co or Elon Musk, and we only follow, each time we drop, we change our bio to the new drop, we change our header image, which Ash does. He designs it. It looks awesome. And then the only people we follow are someone that like has to do with that drop. So for Musk on Mars, we only follow Elon Musk until the next drop. For Fast.co, we only followed like the 3 founders of Fast, or for Slow, I guess was the product we built. But yeah, and so anyways, yeah, there's like some nuances, but I doubt many people even notice that.
But you don't have to manage both of them, but
no, Ash is the man.
It's like how, I'm sure that you've hit a ton of different plateaus, just like we all have, and I definitely have, where you probably tell yourself, I don't really want to post today because I don't think I'm going to say anything that's helpful whatsoever. What do you do in those days? Because you mentioned not having 0 days. It's important to be consistent. Obviously, if you're building an audience, you can't miss.
Yeah.
When you feel like totally just missing for a day or two, what processes do you put yourself through? What do you say to yourself? How do you actually keep going?
Yeah, it's actually not, there's no like one tactic. Like I'm so bad about missing, because for a while, it's taken me a while to get consistent or even get semi-consistent. Now I have 5 ways where it's, if I'm having that feeling where I have nothing good to say today, I've got a bunch of different ways, which I know some people have one way, which is I go to my inspiration list and like I pull from there. But I've got like a I have a list of people I follow on Twitter. That's like a private list. It's just like 20 people that I really love their tweets. I really love what they talk about. And so I pull inspiration from there. I'll draft a lot of tweets and leave it in drafts. So if I'm feeling super empty, I'll go into the drafts. I'll find something, I'll repurpose it. And then I started using like the What to Tweet website. I'm not sure what the exact URL, but I've got that as like a shortcut where it's like, I have no ideas right now. Go to the What to Tweet, and it has 50, 100 prompts as far as like possible types of tweets. And then, yeah, that's it. And there's probably other ones that I'm missing.
The first time I used the What to Tweet, the first tweet that was on there was mine.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
So I was like, oh, cool.
You just tweet that? You screen grab that and then tweet it?
I might have, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. What tips would you give right now, your growth trajectory? You've been from that 0 to 100, 100 to 500, 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 2,500. Now you're right there at 2,500. So I guess 5K is probably the next big threshold for you. Mm-hmm. What tips could you give anybody? Because like we've talked about before, your story is different because most of the people out there on Twitter are still posting boring stuff that everybody else is, or just retweeting Naval without really retweeting him. They just mix up his words. And so like, how have you been doing it differently? What tips do you have for people that are at that smaller threshold that looking to make that next leap?
I guess I'm a use case of this, but just do things that are like weird or unique. Like you said, there's a lot of people tweeting like Navalisms. Like I have done that. I probably still do that sometimes, but just like doing something that like no one else is doing, which is, I guess, difficult. But yeah, I feel like a lot of my tweets probably haven't changed that much. I think I'm more consistent and I'm a little bit better of a writer, but a lot of my tweets have not changed that much compared to, I don't know, pre-Bad Unicorn to now. But like now that I'm launching something and creating something that's like unique, like more people like are willing to listen. And I guess I'm having new learnings as like I'm building Bad Unicorn. But I think it does start with, you have to have some inflection point, which for me, the inflection point was Bad Unicorn. That was like a weird thing that I did and launched. Maybe for someone else, it's like a software product. Maybe for someone else, it's a writing. Maybe for someone else's podcast or newsletter. But whatever it is, like it's got to be, until you've found your momentum point, like you have to do something different, I think.
You mentioned that this is more of a side gig right now because you have a full-time gig too. Mm-hmm. There are probably a lot of people listening in that can relate to that might be scared, honestly, to tweet because they work for a company. They don't know how they're going to perceive things. What's been your experience with tweeting, especially like tweeting while being weird when you have other people that are potentially looking at this stuff, or you've still got your whole career ahead of you and you don't want to mess things up? What's been your experience with that?
I've been pretty fortunate. So I work for Techstars. My boss is a founder. Like the founder DNA like runs deep with him, and so he like loves seeing like side projects, loves seeing like me launching things. So it helps a little bit where I don't have to be like secretive as far as like my projects, which that would make things a lot harder. Like how can you build an audience when like your boss like can't follow you or you have to like block them? So that helps. And as far as even the weirdness aspect, like since I'm in tech, I'm in startups, like what I'm doing isn't that weird for someone who's in startups. It's weird for someone who's in like investment banking or something like that, or someone who's in marketing. Well, maybe not that, but yeah. So yeah, that hasn't been too bad as far as
What about just self-confidence wise? How long did it take you to be comfortable posting stuff that you're like, I have no clue if this is gonna land? This could be super weird. I could be the only person that thinks this is funny. Did it take you a while to feel comfortable with that? And if so, like, how did you get comfortable just pushing send regardless?
Yeah, the one thing that's helped is I feel like my like friend group, like the people I associate with aren't on Twitter. Like they're on like onto like new platforms. They're on Instagram or they're on like maybe TikTok, but people like aren't as much on Twitter, which I think bodes well for me because I probably would be more self-conscious as far as what I tweet. And I still am, like, and I still was. But I think I found that once you find just a couple people that like appreciate what you're tweeting or what you're building or like your like sense of humor, like you only need a couple people, I think. And then I'm tweeting for like me and for those people. And I think that was harder when I didn't have any or like maybe one or two that like were just actually my friends. Yeah. So I think that might be important where, I don't know, find like that smallest. And people talk about like 100 people that like love your product or love your brand. But probably for tweeting, like just find a couple people that like really resonate with your tweets and go from there.
Yeah, that's how it was for me. I really only started tweeting like 5 months ago, and there was basically like one or two people that would ever like my stuff. And that's how it all started, just relationship building. And
Yeah.
I'd like to transition just a tiny bit as we get closing up here, but just about your engagement strategy, because we've talked a lot about what you've created, what you're tweeting, how you're actually creating tweets and things like that. But what about flipping that and looking at what other people are creating? What's your engagement strategy? What do you think of like the importance of commenting other people's things, liking other people's things, DMing? What's your whole take on that?
My take on that is I try to respond to every single comment I get. I think that's something it's not incredibly hard to do. Like some days it's harder than others, but I try to respond to like every comment I get because it's like one of those things. It's like someone took their time to even say this is cool or thanks for sharing this. Like I want to comment back and be like, thank you for commenting. This is awesome. And so I try to take that approach as far as responding. As far as DMs, I'm not as good as far as DMs. That's one thing. Partially I need to get better at it, and partially I wish like Twitter had a better direct message product because I want to see a DM and I want to read it and then I want to do like a mark as unread so like I can come back to it. Mm-hmm. So that's like I don't know if that's even what you're asking, but yeah. And then I guess as far as collaborating with other TikTokers, Twitter people, I try to support as many like other creators as I can. Like and even as far as like buying their ebook, buying their course, like paying it forward for the people who have even like retweeted my stuff. Like it's the same type of thing. Like I think, and I try to always, if I can, I try to like pay like the full price or pay whatever it is. Cause like the person who built it spent a lot of time on it. So there's been times where I've offered free things to other people. There's been times where people offered like free things to me. I try to want to say, I want to pay you something, at least pay you 50% or 100%. So I think that's like important, and like a lot of creators do that, which is cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a cool community. My final question here is, where are you going next? What's the next goal for your audience?
I think for me, I mean that 5,000 numbers in mind. I want to hit 10,000 Twitter followers. It's not my largest focus because my large focus is building funny products, and I think the rest will follow. But I think that mark for both Bad Unicorn's audience, which is an email subscriber, I want to get to 10,000 email subscribers, and I want to get to 10,000 Twitter followers, like personally. So yeah, that's kind of my personal goal, and my Bad Unicorn goal is 10,000 email subscribers.
What's the deadline you're giving yourself?
I don't know. That's one thing. I did have a deadline, and I'm like not. I guess I'm like not reaching it. Like I told myself a while ago, or like maybe a month ago, that I wanted to hit 10,000 email subscribers by like mid-February or right at 1,800. So like we're going to have to do some pretty cool things to like get the email subscriber base there. I haven't set a deadline for like myself. Maybe it's just, I think I said 2021 was in my head.
Cool. We'll have to have you back on and we'll follow up with you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Awesome. All right. Again, actually, let me give you the chance. You can tell people where to find you and what you're working on right now, and then we'll wrap things up.
Cool. Yeah, on Twitter, it's at Whit4th, which is WHIT, the number 4TH. And then the Bad Unicorn account is at Bad Unicorn VC. And then you can sign up for our newsletter at badunicorn.vc. Yeah, and see all our products.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on. Everybody check out Bad Unicorn. If you ever just want to laugh, it's good every other week to just see something different than the usual stuff people are doing. So Whit, appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, Blake. I had a blast. It was good to meet you in person. Yeah.